Hey there, today I am sharing the 10 most powerful foods that can actually help reverse type 2 diabetes naturally. You have heard this many times before, but a lot of times people really either don't listen to the whole video or they just don't understand the holistic nature of reversing diabetes, and this is part of it. I have seen hundreds of patients really lower their A1C by 1 to 2 points, and if your A1C is around 7.5, for example, and you lower it by 2 percentage points, then you are basically down to 5.5 and you're effectively reversing your diabetes, right? Or you can reduce or eliminate medications at least by adding these foods to your daily meals. One of my patients really dropped from 8.2 to 6.1 in just 90 days with these foods. I'll show you exactly what to eat, how much, and when for the best blood sugar control. These foods work by improving insulin sensitivity and reducing inflammation, and they're delicious too. Let's dive into these diabetes-fighting superfoods. I know living with diabetes can feel overwhelming, but checking blood sugar multiple times a day, worrying about every bite of the food, and the frustration when your numbers won't budge despite following your doctor's advice, well, the fear of complications like neuropathy, kidney disease, and vision loss hanging over your head as well. So, for example, my patient Maria came to me after 7 years of struggling with type 2 diabetes. Her medications kept increasing, and yet her A1C remained stuck at 7.8%. She was exhausted all the time and had developed painful neuropathy in her feet as well. After implementing the food plan that I'm about to share with you, her A1C dropped to 6.5% in 3 months, and her energy returned and her neuropathy pain decreased significantly. 6 months later, her doctor, the primary care doctor, reduced her medications even by half, which is amazing. So what most people don't realize is that the standard American diet, which is the SAD diet, is literally designed to make diabetes worse. The processed foods, the hidden sugars, and inflammatory oils create a perfect storm that keeps your blood sugar elevated and your cells resistant to insulin. But here's the truth. You're not stuck with progressively worsening diabetes. Your body has an amazing capacity to heal when given the right nutrients. I have seen it happen hundreds of times in my practice. The foods that I'm about to share with you can help your body become more sensitive to insulin again, reduce the inflammation, and even help regenerate pancreatic beta cells that produce insulin when needed. Before I reveal these 10 powerful foods, let me explain why they work so effectively for reversing diabetes. Type 2 diabetes develops primarily because of insulin resistance. Your cells stop responding properly to insulin hormone that allows the glucose into your cells. And this resistance develops due to several factors: chronic inflammation from poor diet and environmental toxins, or oxidative stress that damages cell membranes, or disruption of healthy gut bacteria, or accumulation of visceral fat around the organs, or mitochondrial dysfunction that affects energy production. The foods that I'm about to share target each of these underlying causes. They contain specific compounds that activate AMP kinase, which is your body's metabolic master switch, to reduce the inflammation throughout your body. We are going to talk about these foods, which will also improve your insulin receptor sensitivity, support healthy gut bacteria, protect and potentially regenerate pancreatic beta cells, slow the carbohydrate absorption to prevent the blood sugar spikes, and we'll look into the research as well. For example, let's start with the research. A 2008 study in the Lancet, which is a reputable journal, showed that a diet focused on whole, unprocessed foods could achieve diabetes remission in up to 46% of the participants within 12 months. Another study in diabetes care found that certain plant compounds can improve insulin sensitivity by up to 40%. What's remarkable is that these foods start working quickly. Many of my patients see improvements in their fasting blood sugars within days, though the full benefits for A1C reduction typically takes 2 to 3 months of consistent consumption. Now, let's get to the foods that can help reverse your diabetes naturally. Here are the 10 powerful foods for reversing diabetes. Number 1, berberine-rich foods. You're going to be like, berberine? Berberine is a supplement, right? A lot of you are taking super berberine from SugarMD or regular berberine. But barberry and Oregon grape are the origins of berberine actually. They contain the berberine, and if you cannot eat those things, you can take berberine for sure, but berberine works very similar to metformin. You can make a tea, for example, with a teaspoon of dried barberry, steep for 10 minutes, and you can consume it once daily before your largest meal, for example, and that can lower your A1C by up to 1.5% in 3 months. Now, second one that I'm going to give to you is the wild blueberries. Not the farmed ones, unfortunately, that you can find in many stores, but the wild blueberries contain anthocyanins, very high in concentration. I mean, the ones that you find in the stores also contain anthocyanins. It's just the concentration is not as much. So these anthocyanins improve insulin sensitivity and reduce inflammation. How do you use this? You're going to have a half a cup of daily fresh or frozen, and then you can consume those with breakfast as a snack, for example. And studies actually show that this can lower post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 24%. The third one is easy one to find, and it's probably in everyone's kitchen, is turmeric with black pepper. Right, so what is in turmeric is curcumin, right? And curcumin in turmeric reduces the inflammation and improves insulin sensitivity. How to use turmeric? Well, half a teaspoon of turmeric with a pinch of black pepper daily in your regular meals. You can, for example, add to your scrambled eggs or smoothies, or if you are doing some, milk before bedtime, which I'm not recommending, but if you are doing that anyway, maybe putting some turmeric in there may not be a bad idea. So what's the clinical benefit? Well, it can improve insulin sensitivity by up to 30% in 8 weeks. And the fourth one is popular, you probably heard about this one, is the apple cider vinegar. So what is an apple cider vinegar? Well, it is the acetic acid, blocks the enzymes that digest the starch that is in the apple cider vinegar, reducing blood sugar spikes. What you can do is 1 tablespoon in 8 ounces of water. You're going to consume before your 2 largest meals of the day, and this can lower the fasting blood sugar by up to 6% and improve the insulin sensitivity by up to 34%. Now, cinnamon is the next one, and obviously we like Ceylon cinnamon, but Ceylon cinnamon contains compounds that mimic insulin and increase insulin sensitivity. So you can have half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, not the cassia cinnamon, because a lot of cinnamons that you are using in the kitchen are for taste, and they're not supposed to be used medicinally in a high dose, and because it can contain coumarin, which can be toxic to your liver. But you can definitely still use Ceylon cinnamon, not necessarily as a supplement, but you can also sprinkle that on your oatmeal, which you have to be careful about with the blood sugar spikes with. And coffee spikes the blood sugar too, but you gotta drink it, right? A lot of people cannot give up on coffee. But you can sprinkle some cinnamon, it makes it taste good as well. And you can even do on your yogurt. And obviously, most of you are taking super berberine, which has 4 grams of Ceylon cinnamon in concentrated form, 20-to-1 concentration, which makes it a lot easier for people who don't like cinnamon necessarily. But clinical benefit is that it can lower your fasting blood sugar by up to 29% in some studies. Next one is some people's favorite and some people's nightmare. These are the leafy greens, right? Spinach, kale, arugula. Why? They are rich in magnesium, which is essential for proper insulin function. You can use like 2 cups daily, raw or lightly cooked. Don't overcook your vegetables to prevent the problems getting the nutrients from them. But at least 1 meal per day should include these leafy greens. Studies show that each daily serving reduces diabetes risk by 14%. The 7th, is the fatty fish, which are salmon, sardines, and mackerel. Why? The omega-3 fatty acids in them reduce the inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity. And you can use these fish like 3 times a week. How to do that? 4 to 6 ounce portions, typically 2 to 3 times per week, like I said. That will improve the insulin sensitivity by up to 43% and reduce the inflammation markers. A lot of my patients will tell me that they're having low blood sugars on the days that they eat fish. It's because on the days they eat regular meat, they see that although carbohydrate is not any different, but when it comes to meat, fish versus regular meat, chicken or red meat, is going to make a big difference in your blood sugars because of that insulin sensitivity factor. Number 8 is avocados. I had some great avocados this morning. I'm very happy, I'm very satisfied, and I'm not even hungry. It's afternoon right now. So monounsaturated fatty acids in there improve the insulin sensitivity and reduce the inflammation. Now, how do we use that? Half an avocado, you don't have to have the whole one if you are especially careful about your calories, but you can consume it daily with breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And studies show that this improves insulin sensitivity response by up to 37% after meals. Now the ninth is nuts. Now not every nut, right? So especially walnuts and almonds. Peanuts are okay if you are doing totally organic, but if you're buying regular peanuts, you're really intoxicating yourself because they're so heavily sprayed with pesticides. And if you're eating peanut butter, like the regular brands that they use those peanuts, then you're also not doing yourself a favor. But the nuts, especially walnuts and almonds, contains healthy fats, magnesium, and fiber that improve the glucose metabolism like we discussed earlier. And you can do maybe 1/4 of a cup, like a small handful. You can consume that daily or as a snack or in addition to a meal or a salad. But regular nut consumption really associated with 27% of risk reduction with diabetes. And number 10, which is last but not least, is important really, the fermented foods. What are they? Like yogurt or kefir or sauerkraut, and there's some like miso soup, kimchi, kombucha, things like that. Now, you can also do probiotic supplements. We have a probiotic supplement called Be Happy, which a lot of patients love, but having in the food is actually very important. So probiotics improve the gut health, which directly impacts the insulin sensitivity. Actually, your gut health pretty much affects everything. So you really need to be nice to your microbiome in your stomach. Now, how to use that? Half a cup of yogurt or kefir, 2 tablespoons of sauerkraut, for example, daily, preferably with breakfast. And the clinical benefit is going to be improving fasting blood sugar by up to 12% and reduce the inflammation. Let's do a diabetes reversing meal plan with you. Here's a simple way to incorporate these foods into your daily routine. I'm going to give you exactly what to eat. Breakfast. Have Greek yogurt with wild blueberries, walnuts, and cinnamon, sprinkle of some turmeric and black pepper. For lunch, we're going to do large salad with leafy greens. We're going to add some avocado, half an avocado for example, and olive oil dressing with apple cider vinegar in there. Now, you can also optionally add some wild-caught salmon, which will make it even better. Now, dinner, we're going to have some fatty fish or lean protein, a side of sauteed leafy greens with turmeric and black pepper, and a small side of fermented vegetables like sauerkraut. Let's say you want to have snacks, although I'm not recommending snacks most of the time, but if you have to have snacks, go for a handful of almonds or walnuts in this case. And you can do celery with almond butter, berries with a few dark chocolate chips, 85% or higher cacao, by the way. And for the evening, you're going to have a cup of barberry or cinnamon tea, and there you go, you have it. That's a great plan.